have that fruit, to taste it, what it would be like to have that wisdom. Little did Eve know that she was about to be faced with a choice that would change everything. And little did she know that she was being watched by the one who works tirelessly at separating man from God. It was the devil. And with his limited powers, he was unable to read her mind. So he didn't know her weakness. So he stood by the one place he knew would separate man from God. And by that tree, he watched. He watched how Eve would walk by slowly, and then he saw how she stopped and gazed. And he knew it. He knew what her weakness was. And the only thing he had left to do was to stand by and wait one more time. Disguised as a serpent, he waited. He asked her, did God really say you must not eat the fruit from any of the trees in the garden? Of course we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, the woman replied. It's only the fruit from the trees in the middle of the garden that we are not allowed to eat. God said you must not eat or even touch it. If you do, you will die. The woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful and that its fruits looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom that it would give her. So there she stood in that moment, the battle taking over in her mind. She looks at the fruit. Oh, how it looks so good. But remembered what God had said. She looks at Adam, who just stood there and said nothing. Her hands trembling, her heart shaking. Her heart shaking. What was she going to do? Confused. Was God telling the truth, or was it all a lie? For the first time in her life, she actually doubted God. She takes a hold of the fruit. She looks at Adam, and then in one faithful bite, she destroyed everything that God had made. And then everything would be different. Everything would change. She would give the apple to Adam, who took a bite. Sin breaks what God makes. God made a world that was perfect. We had everything that we needed. We had a relationship with God. We walked and talked freely with Him, side by side. And because of sin, that was now gone forever. Sin breaks what God makes. It separates us. It separated us in the garden when man decided to disobey. It separates us today. The sin of lying to our parents separates us from God. The sin of cheating at school separates us from God. The sin of murder separates us from God. The sin of hitting our brother or sister out of anger separates us from God. Sin breaks what God